In today's fight news, we start off with the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul matchup scheduled for July 20th has now been officially sanctioned as a heavyweight professional fight. The rules being there will be 8 2-minute rounds using 14-ounce gloves. The results of this matchup will show on both fighters' records. Ahead of his UFC 301 main event title defense, flyweight champion Alexander Pantoja says he has the weight of his nation on his back going into this fight against the taller, younger, and stronger Steve Erceg. Light heavyweight title challenger Anthony Smith says that he's not done ahead of his upcoming UFC 301 bout against Vitor Petrino, stating, "I'm as good now as I've ever been. I haven't lost my speed. My reaction time is so good." It looks like the scheduled matchup between Anthony Hernandez and Roman Dolidze has been canceled due to Dolidze having to pull out of the matchup ahead of the UFC 302 bout. According to Dolidze, the UFC is trying to find a last-minute replacement for their June 1st matchup. Hernandez has confirmed that he has a torn ligament in his hand and will not be able to return to the octagon until at least summertime. On his social media, Dustin the Diamond Poirier posted a picture of him rocking the brand new gold UFC championship gloves that were introduced recently ahead of the UFC 300 event. Poirier will be competing for the title against lightweight champion Islam Makhachev at UFC 302. Speaking of Makhachev, he recently did an interview with TMZ Sports where he said the following about his upcoming title challenger, Dustin Poirier. "Dustin, he's a warrior, legend. He has more experience than everybody in this sport, but his problem is his style. His weak point is wrestling and grappling. Dustin, be ready and wrestle a lot. I defend my neck. I'm ready for your guillotine. That's why it's not happening in our fight, but I will be ready." The back and forth between welterweights Colby Covington and Ian Machado Gary continues as Gary recently posted a video on his social media calling for Covington to, quote-unquote, stop being scared and sign the contract. Gary is gunning for a matchup at UFC 303 on the Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler card. Speaking of Colby Covington, he was recently on an episode of the Hodge Twins podcast, and he had this to say about a possible bout against Gary. "I think that's when they're planning for me, International Fight Week. Just trying to figure out who's going to be the guy. There's this kid that's been calling me out, this kid, Ian Gary. He's a nobody. I gave him some stipulations and said, hey man, if you want to fight me, you have to show me you're serious about business." Another top welterweight gunning for a matchup with Colby Covington is MVP Michael Venom Page. Recently, he had this to say about possibly facing the former title challenger. "I hate Colby Covington. I'm going to be happy to kick this guy in the face. I find him fake. He doesn't seem like a nice guy." Bobby Green recently clapped back at Paddy the Baddy Pimlet, who recently called out both Green and Renato Moicano. This is what Bobby Green had to say about the call out. "Paddy, you little... I see what you're trying to do. He did some slick like, yeah, I'll fight, but I'd rather fight Renato. So I'm going to give you the game plan. I'm going to sock you out in your spot, then I'm going to beat up Renato next. So I'll beat both of y'all asses." Dave Lavelle, the head coach of welterweight champion Leon Edwards, spoke on the first matchup between Edwards and Belal Muhammad that ended due to an eye poke. This is what he had to say. "For us, if that eye poke never happened, I believe Leon would have finished him in the second round the way the fight was going." On the topic of Belal Muhammad, former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker had this to say to MMA Arcade. "The more people hate on him, the more I like him. It's just bringing me to his side. I love it. I want to see Belal with the belt wrapped around him. That would upset a lot of people. The uproar would be fantastic." On to some unfortunate news. Former UFC heavyweight champion Francis the Predator Ngannou recently announced that he lost his 18-month-old son due to undisclosed reasons. We send love and positive vibes to you and your family, champ. After BKFC superstar Mike Perry recently called out former title challenger Darren Till, Till responded on his Instagram stating the following: "Effing bum, I'm going to destroy this man when we finally meet. He's been fighting old, slow, shifty dopes." The PFL has officially announced their Salt Lake City event for June 1st at the Huntsman Center as the lightweight and the light heavyweight seasons continue, with the following matchups below. In other MMA news, a grappling matchup has been announced between UFC fighters Benoit Saint-Denis and Mark DeCasey to headline ADX-C4 in Paris, France on the 18th of May. Lastly, we finish off with some updates to the UFC rankings. After UFC Vegas 91, Alex Perez is now ranked number 5 in the flyweight division. His opponent, Mateusz Nicolau, is now ranked at number 8. In the light heavyweight rankings, Bogdan Guskov has now officially entered the rankings at number 12, while Ryan Spann drops to number 15. Corine Silva has moved up one spot to number 12, while her opponent at UFC Vegas 91 this past weekend, Ariane Da Silva, drops to number 13. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate the content, like and subscribe.